Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning, episode 322. The LA Rams and Jared Goff back on the table. Sean McVay has expressed some reasons to believe that the Rams and Jared Goff may be parting ways. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, question of the day. Who is the Rams franchise leading receiver? Of course, going back through every city the Rams have been in, all-time franchise leading receiver in yards. Again, stick around to the end of the video for the answer. But Jay, like I said, Sean McVay has hinted at, or kind of said, GM as well, that their future with Jared Goff is not necessarily set in stone. It's uncertain. Do you think you may see a Rams team this year without Jared Goff?
While I do think it's ideal and be a great move for them to follow that, I do think they're in kind of a tight situation because odds are moving Jared Goff, you'd probably have to give something as well to compensate for the other team to take on his contract, such as a first round, second round, and third round. But however, they don't have a first round this year because of the Jalen Ramsey trade. Not that that was a bad trade, but it is kind of biting them in the ass right now if they're trying to move off of Jared Goff's contract, and it's going to take an extra first round for them to get rid of him. But I would definitely think this is the right move if they could somehow pull it off. This kind of, to me, like a Tua situation with the Dolphins. Yeah, the guy might be above average or might be good enough to get you into the playoffs a year there, and it can always get you a winning season. But is he ever going to be the guy that'll take you to a Super Bowl and win the big games and go all the way? Probably not. The Dolphins kind of dealing with it themselves. They don't know if they should move on from Tua, and it's only this early. Goff has been proven to show what he really is. I'd love to see somehow maybe if they could pick up Matthew Stafford and swap QBs, or maybe Carson Wentz. Not that Carson Wentz is better than Jared Goff, but take a risk at this point. I'm not saying you can't get worse by any means. Of course you could get worse, but I don't think Jared Goff is going to take you to a Super Bowl. As we know, if you don't win the last game of the season, if you don't win the Super Bowl, nothing else really matters. So take a gamble here, see what quarterback you get. Matthew Stafford would be my ideal place. Of course, if Aaron Rodgers is really going to leave Green Bay, go after him, or if somehow Deshaun Watson is in play. But I think Rodgers and Deshaun Watson are out of play. To me, you got to look at Matt Stafford is the biggest opening, in my opinion. I'd love to see it happen, but I don't think it will if I had to put money on the line. But we saw that it kind of been speculative, and it's kind of being rumored that even if Jared Goff isn't traded, him and John Wolford, the backup QB that started over Goff when he had that thumb injury, could have a quarterback duel to see who owns the starting position for this very year. So just because they don't trade him doesn't mean he'll be the starter next year. It's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with just the burden of his contract and just really the burden that he's really not that good of a quarterback. Yeah. So I think this is a guy that, in the context of a trade, isn't very desirable around the league. So he's not going to be a guy that, I mean, take the example of Aaron Rodgers. He's got time left of his contract, so if he leaves Green Bay, it's going to be on a trade, and every team in the league, with the exception of 2 or 3, are going to want him. So he could be out of Green Bay in a second that he decides to, but Jared Goff, not the same case. So he really isn't a guy that is going to have teams lined up that want him. You bring up also an interesting point with Detroit. Some mock drafts have them taking Fields because the Jets may draft Devontae, whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of issues there. Or not issues there, but conversation there. So you could have a situation where you end up with Stafford and Goff trade. They also draft Fields, and then Goff can either be the starter while Fields sits behind him, or Goff is a backup. I think Goff would make a great backup quarterback. Yeah, because he can win games. You can win games in the regular season, just not great in the playoffs. So the issues with the Goff trade for me is, of course, the burden of his contract and the burden that he's really not that great of a player.
Yeah, and really, if he didn't have such an expensive contract, they would honestly maybe keep him and just surround him with weapons, kind of like you see the Browns doing with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's still on his rookie contract, so they're giving him Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, the most expensive and the best offensive line in the league, along with the best backfield. So maybe if Goff was on a cheaper salary, they could just surround him and they can overcome the issues that Goff has. However, they already went to his agent and tried to negotiate, and the agent kind of said, pack sand, go away. That's not even going to happen. You agreed. And I can't really blame the agent. I mean, Jared Goff wants his money, of course, but at some point you have to cross the line of being the bigger man and doing what's best for the team. If you want a starting job, could bite Jared Goff in the ass for... If he doesn't renegotiate this contract, he might not ever get a big contract again once this one is over. So he's really got to consider what the right move is here. To me, I would definitely renegotiate. If I was Jared Goff, you have to look at the bigger picture here and understand we want a Super Bowl. I don't want money. I'll get commercials. I'll get endorsements if we went on to win. A lot bigger picture here, and a lot more is on the line over his 10, 15 extra $1 million that he could cut back on and help the Rams out tremendously.
Yeah, good point. I mean, in your opinion, you think this is kind of premature for McVay to be dissatisfied with Goff? I mean, this is a team we've seen in the playoffs the last, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like they were
years.
This
it's
isn't
not
an
like
8-8 Bears sneaking in.
This is a team that knocked out the Seahawks, that was in contention for who ended up winning the NFC West.
It was the Seahawks.
It was the Seahawks.
They beat them in Seattle.
That's right.
On a broken thumb.
Yeah, the Rams went to Seattle, beat them in the wild card round. So, I mean, to me, it's not a dire situation of the Rams need to move on from Goff, but the fact that it's there, I think that it's possibly more of a more motivational thing for Goff, that his GM and his head coach are thinking about going off of him, and I think that's going to change. Maybe change the way he plays next year.
Yeah, maybe they might not even be worried about the Super Bowl at this point. But if you look at the NFC West, you got quarterbacks that I don't know if Jared Goff can compete with. He's not better than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray's up for debate, but I do think Kyler's probably the better player. Jimmy Garoppolo, healthy.
Or Deshaun in San Francisco.
Yeah,
with
who knows?
Kyle Shanahan.
To me, you can argue that Jared Goff is the fourth worst quarterback in the NFC West. Yes, there's an argument that he could be the second best, but to me, he's probably third or fourth worst or best, whichever way you want to call it. There's only 4 in the division. To me, they're just looking at, even within their own division, how are we going to compete with these guys? As Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are getting better. Russell Wilson's always Russell Wilson. And the Niners, once they're healthy, they're almost just a little bit better than the Rams. They're known for the defense, and their quarterback just gets them by. They're pretty much the same thing. So they're definitely looking at not only the Super Bowl, but their division as well, if Jared Goff can even compete there.
On the same note as the Rodgers thing, with his future being uncertain with the his future with the Packers, and then Goff now with the Rams, I think both of those situations are more of just a rumored situation. I think
because we haven't heard anything from Goff.
I firmly believe that both quarterbacks will be where they are right now next year. But in the specific situation of Goff, I think that the team is maybe better off than it may look. History shows teams with average quarterbacks and great defenses win Super Bowls. I mean, Joe Flacco's Ravens.
Yep, the Bucks.
The Bucks in 2002. The whatever team Trent
even
Dilfer
the Niners
won it with.
last year were that close.
I think Dilfer won it with the Ravens. Same situation. And the Niners' offense last year was definitely not the reason they were in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think history shows that a team like the Rams, with Goff being an average quarterback with a top defense in the league, can win a championship.
Yeah.
So there needs to be some tweaking done, I think, but I don't think they should move off of Goff.
While Jared Goff might not be able to compete in the NFC right now, but once Aaron Rodgers retires in a few years, Drew Brees is gone, and Brady's going to be gone too. Eventually, Jared Goff will be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. Yeah, that's bold to say, but when you take away those GOAT quarterbacks, Goff can finally compete and maybe make a deep run. Yes, it will still be Russell Wilson, but I think it'll open up soon if they invest in him a little bit longer. But I'd love to see them trade just because that's awesome.
And Russell Wilson seems to be on a recent
Decline,
downfall
yeah,
for sure. But I still got faith in him. But my bottom line is, this is maybe more of a motivational thing from the Rams front office to get Goff on a different path, because I think they'll be on him, still using him next year.
Yeah, I don't think he'll go anywhere.
All right, that's all from the video. As far as the question today, your answer is Isaac Bruce with just over 14,000 yards, 14,109, is the Rams' franchise-leading receiver in yards. He was part of that team that won the Super Bowl with Kurt Warner. Thanks for sticking around, guys. 2-minute warning.